What's going on, geeks and gamers? This is Ryan with the RK Outpost, and it has been a while since I have been on the main channel. But today, I am here to talk to you about Naughty Dog and The Last of Us Part 2, and what Metacritic is now going to be doing in order to combat review bombing, like they say happened with The Last of Us Part 2. We know that the media has been firmly in Naughty Dog's corner throughout this entire process. Whether that's giving the game perfect 10s, everyone calling it a masterpiece in order to keep their access to these companies, or whether it's the absolute silence about the false copyright strikes and the DMCA abuse that so many channels like myself, like this channel, like our Gaming with Geeks channel, like Lethal Lightning, countless others were undergoing. Nothing about that. But when Sony and Naughty Dog wanted them to report about the hacking that went on, how these leaks got out, it wasn't a disgruntled employee. Trust us, it's a hacker. We know just who it is. Everybody wrote about that. Haven't heard anything since, have you? I think it sufficiently distracted everybody. But let's take a look at what Metacritic is now trying to do, just like Rotten Tomatoes with Captain Marvel. Funny how these things work, isn't it? Metacritic finally addresses review bombing after The Last of Us Part 2's experience. Of course, no one ever is in a rush to do anything when the case is flipped around, when the critics hate something and all the fans really like it. Never hear anything about that, do you? Interesting. Metacritic no longer seems to be allowing folks to review titles on launch day following the very blatant review bombs for The Last of Us 2. Metacritic may have finally addressed its, quote, review bombing problem following what transpired after The Last of Us Part 2 released for the PlayStation 4 last month. Now let's go ahead and take a look at these Metacritic scores. Now it has gone all the way up to a 5.4. What started around a 3.4 with, let's face it, a lot of negative reviews right off the bat for this game, has now risen to a 5.4. On 120,000 reviews. There is no way that you can tell me that all of these are legitimate. And we know that because take a look right here. Somebody actually broke down the numbers. Day one scores. There were a lot of zeros. Let's get it real. Over 3,000 zeros on day one. There was also 1,800 tens. Both of these people that did these reviews, they could not have finished the game, but let's not pretend like there isn't review bombing on both sides. That is what all the mainstream media tries to tell you, that it's only review bombed in one way, but we know that is not the case. This has been an issue on the site for a long time, but the practice has never gotten quite as bad as it did in the wake of the Naughty Dog launch. The Last of Us 2 dropped as possibly the most highly anticipated game of 2020, giving the precedent set by the first installment from 2013. And hardly hours removed from the launch, people stormed Metacritic to post weirdly low scores. Of course, we just showed you the data. It wasn't just low scores, it was also a lot of high scores. Thousands of tens from people who couldn't possibly have finished the game. But you don't mention those, do you, mainstream games journalists? Even gamers who did purchase the game couldn't have possibly beaten it in the space of a few hours. The site has seemingly taken steps to address the problem by not permitting anyone to post reviews of the games on launch day. Now, this post comes from Reset Era. We're going to take a look at this right here. Now, this is Reset Era, the same Reset Era that recently bombed Angry Joe and Skillup after they gave bad reviews for The Last of Us Part 2. Reset Era is an absolute joke, but it is where this came up first, so we gotta show it here. This person posts, after The Last of Us Part 2, seems like Metacritic changed their user score system a little bit, and they have a screenshot here. Now, this is a game called Superluminal. Now, it just released for PlayStation 4. It had been available before, but now just releasing for PS4. They try to post a score. No critic review yet. However, under user reviews, instead of being able to hit a button and place a user score, it says, please spend some time playing the game. Come back to review it starting at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on July 9th. Now, that has since come to pass. That time has since passed, and you can see now you can put a score. It has a 6.3. You're allowed to put a score now. But that is what they are doing. They are now implementing a system where you have to wait 2 days before you can review a game. Now, honestly, I don't actually have a problem with this. As long as it's the same for everything, everywhere around, I don't really have a problem with it. However, the idea that they're only doing this in response to The Last of Us Part 2 is absolutely hysterical. Because guess what? If people don't like this game, that's not going to stop them. If people really want to, quote, review bomb this game, that's not going to stop them. These leaks came out 2 months before the game released. It didn't stop people. People were still upset. People were still angry about all of this, okay? So you can implement this, but the idea that you think it's going to change anything is a little bit laughable. It reminds me of what happened with Captain Marvel. Rotten Tomatoes is changing audience review capabilities to tackle review bombing. And we know, according to an update on Rotten Tomatoes blog, the update will allow Rotten Tomatoes overall audience scores based on ratings from users we've confirmed bought tickets to the movie. So now they had the verified audience score and all audiences. This was in direct aftermath to the review bombing that happened for Captain Marvel. Again, review bombing for Captain Marvel. And I don't really have a problem with this either, if that's what you want to implement. It's just ironic that it took Captain Marvel for it to happen. Not when people liked a movie that critics didn't like, only when critics loved a movie and so many people absolutely despised it. But let's continue to read this article. While this isn't expected to stop review bombing, it's a step in the right direction. Of course, trolls likely don't mind waiting a few days exactly to post negative reviews and low scores. As the post reads, thought it was threadworthy. You can't just toss you score at a game right after release date. Not anymore. Does this mean we won't see another moronic review bombing? Probably not, but it's something, I guess. Fortunately, low Metacritic scores hardly slowed sales for The Last of Us Part 2. Well, let's be honest, it sold a bunch that first week, just like we all knew it would. It's a highly anticipated game. But then what happened? 80% drop in the UK, 85% drop in Japan, tons available on the used market as more and more people found out about this story. More and more people found out what Naughty Dog did, what Neil Druckmann did. And it's just going to continue to drop. It'll be interesting to see how those numbers hold after July. I'm going to be really interested to see how it sells long term vice that big opening weekend with all the buildup from The Last of Us in 2013. Review bombing hasn't been the only controversial point relating to The Last of Us 2's release. Character Abby's voice actor Laura Bailey was the victim of death threats. Neil Druckmann also shared those as well, which, of course, no sane individuals condone that. Everyone realized that's wrong, and no one I've seen on YouTube has encouraged anyone to do that, despite the mainstream media trying to paint YouTubers as endorsing this. It's absolute trash and to be expected from people with blue check marks and games journalists. Naughty Dog has since condemned the actions of players who somehow found it necessary to send threats Bailey's way. Wanted to talk about this, wanted to tell everybody what Metacritic is going to be implementing. All because critics and audience don't agree, because we know critics are paid to review the game, whereas fans actually pay to play the game, right? That's how it works, and that's why fans are so upset about this. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. Do you have an issue waiting 2 days to do this for a game? Do you think they're going to implement it from now on, or is it a one-time only thing? Haven't seen any official statement from Metacritic, just happened to pop up on their website. Make sure you let us know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel. Also subscribe to my channel, Ryan Kindle RK Outpost. There will be a link in the pinned comment below. Smash a like button, share this video out there, and I will talk to you later.